guys, apologies about the last live. We were meant to go live with Zan. We had some technical difficulties, which meant that was much harder than it was supposed to be. But we did record the conversation, so Sam and Zan Perion should be coming out in the next week or so. Again, apologies to anyone that was waiting on that stream and didn't get to see it. But it will be coming out. We had a very good conversation, as Zan and I always do. So today, I basically just want to go over some things with you guys and get you to ask any questions, because I want you guys to try and change my mind about some stuff, to challenge me on some ideas. And I want to go into a number of different ideas, a number of different things regarding to single life as a man, dating, marriage as a man, and all of these questions, and how best you guys can go about the life that's most suitable for you. If you want to be single and you want to date women, then how can you do that? It's not exactly obvious right now, but I've got some ideas, and I want to see if you guys can challenge any of the thoughts that I suggest to you as I talk. So here in the chat, ask any questions. I'm just going to write that here so everyone remembers, and we should be good for the next hour or so. I want to get through as many questions as possible and also discuss some points. So please do ask any questions here in the chat. Whoever's watching, contact me. Again, apologies for the lack of live with Mr. Zan Perion. That was a bit of a mess. Okay. So today I want to talk a little bit about some of the hiccups and pitfalls of being single in today's world, right? And I know that this is maybe a controversial take, and a lot of the guys that have been watching this channel for a long time know that a lot of what I'm talking about is going out and talking to women and going on dates and things that often correspond to guys who want to live the bachelor lifestyle. But I can also see the very strong argument to be made that now more than ever, living a single life is just filled with pitfalls and complications. And there's two sides, right? On the one side, now more than ever, you can be free. There's this hookup culture. There's this liberty to travel, and it's easier than ever to travel, and it's easier than ever to have these little adventures with new women. But on the other side, we've seen how a lot of that can go, right? And a lot of the pitfalls that men fall into, and the problems that they get themselves into, and the nihilism, and the wasted time, and the lack of family, and the lack of meaning. So today I'm going to mention some things which I think could give some arguments for marriage, stability, long-term relationships. And I want to give you guys some food for thought, and I want you to challenge me on some of these things. So, first of all, let me know if you're here, if you're watching. Let me know who's here, and please ask any questions in the chat. I will be answering any questions that come in the chat. So the first thing I want to go into is this idea of freedom. So there's so many guys that say, I just want to be free. I want to be free to have as many opportunities with women as possible. I want to have limitless opportunities. I want to be free. I don't want to be tied down. I want to have choice. But one thing that we don't think about with freedom is the paradox that's embedded in freedom, which is that when we have limitless options, we find ourselves often bound by indecision, right? If you have limitless options, what's your incentive to ever settle on one of those options, right? And if you're not going to settle on one of those options, then what's the practical point in having limitless options, right? We're encouraged to have a wide range of experiences and to keep our options open so that we have many opportunities open to us when it comes time to decide. And we think that having those options is what's going to solve the problem that we're feeling, because after all, if we have options, we're never going to be bound to an outcome that we did not choose. But those options can cause us to be indecisive, right? If we have all of these options, again, what incentive is there for us to actually choose one of them? All right, let's say you have £1 million. You can have any of these cars. You've got all this money. You can have whatever car, whatever house you want. Which one are you going to choose? Right? It's like the difference between having limitless options with cars and having limitless options with women is that with the cars, you can have many, and with a woman, if you choose one, you can't have many, right? But if you don't choose one and you have many, then you're also sacrificing the opportunity to have that really deep, unique connection in the sort of old format of marriage, and actually having a deep connection with one person, starting a family, having that security, having that unit, having that ideal, right? It's one or the other. You have many options. You have lateral breadth of experience, or you choose one option. You have depth of experience and a family and a unit and something cohesive and meaningful. Which one do you choose, right? I would say that in today's time, we live in a more chaotic time than ever. Today's world is chaos. Feels kind of crazy. Culturally, socially, politically, Zan and I were just talking about how male testosterone is dropping year on year by a significant and consistent amount. And there's certain things that you can't say. Freedom of speech seems to be under attack. It's a weird time, right? And usually when we live in ordered times, we seek some sort of chaos, right? When everything is conservative and fixed and everyone plays by the rules, we kind of want to break out and bring some chaos and bring something new. And when things are chaotic and no one knows what's going on, AI, climate change, men are women, women are men, what's going on? We seek order. And we're clearly in a time of chaos. I think we can all feel that. So I think for a lot of men today, seeking order, at least in the realm of their romantic and love life, could be a pretty good solution to that, right? Now, I'm not saying it's that simple. Oh, thanks, Sam. Right, all I have to do is find a girlfriend. You think I haven't been trying to do that? I get it. It's not easy. But it gets easier when you decide that that's what you want to do. Because if you're in that indecisive stage where you just don't know what you do, just try your luck. Tried Tinder, tried Bumble, tried Cold Approach. I can't get anywhere. Well, where are you trying to get to? Do you know what kind of woman you want to be in a relationship with? Have you defined that? Have you thought about where she's going to be? Have you thought about what kind of man she's looking for? And whether you are that man? And if you're not, what you need to do to become him? Because if you haven't, then you can't expect to find results if you're not moving in the direction of the thing that you want, right? You know what? No one would start a business and just say, yeah, no, I just want my business to be successful. Well, what business? And what's successful? You have to define where you want to go, or you're not going to get there, right? So I think that's a problem that a lot of guys that I talk to are in right now, is they don't know what they want. They just want things to be better. But they haven't defined what that means, and they're not moving in that direction because they haven't defined it in their head. They don't have that visual, tangible goal that they're moving towards. And I know that that's the place to start. Whenever you're confused, whenever you don't know which direction to go in, define a future that is exciting to you, right? Define it visually, define it viscerally. What is it that I can move towards with certainty that it's good and it's what I'm looking towards, and just plant that seed, right? Plant that direction and just move towards it. So if you have more options, you have a better chance to find the best possible partner. True. But it's also true that as our number of partner options increase, there is a greater likelihood that we feel the negative emotion associated with A, loss of any one of those partners, and B, with the paradox of choice once they are available, right? So once we have those options, we have the paradox of choice, and we also sacrifice the ability to be with one person, for which there is certainly valuable. There is certainly value to the conservative side of it, right? To the family life. I think we've all felt it, and as men, we kind of live in this world where we're caught between two things that we want, and we almost need two lives to be able to be fully satisfied, right? You want to live that life of the traveling pirate, single for all his days, several girlfriends at once. I can see there's some poetic appeal to all of that, and at the same time, we all want to experience what it's like to be with a woman that we love, that loves us, to have a family, to have children, to have our zone, to have our house and our family and our rules and our empire and the cohesive, the cohesive, insular thing that we've created versus the expansive, adventurous, liberal, pirate style of life. We almost need two lives to do it all, and that's the paradox. So as I said, guys, I would love for you guys to ask me any questions about this as we go, because I want to be challenged on this. I'm going to be shooting towards the more conservative side of things today, and I'm going to be talking about why I think for most guys today, there are more advantages to seeking order than to seeking chaos. I don't believe that's always been the case, but I think today there is for most guys, if you really set your mind on finding one quality partner and define clearly what that is and map out what that journey will look like for you, right? Starting from first principles. What kind of woman do I want to be with, right? She's feminine, she's like this, she's athletic, she's from my culture or this other culture, and eventually I want to have kids. Done. Bang. Right, now where does this woman go in the daytime? Where's she to be found? Right? What's she doing? Is she go to the gym? Okay, what kind of gyms does she go to? Well, I don't know. So I don't know, Sam. How am I going to know what gym she goes to? Why don't you go to a few gyms and see what kind of gym you see that type of woman, right? Maybe she doesn't go to a gym. Maybe she goes to coffee shops. Okay, what kind of coffee shop? Joe and the Juice? Have you been there? Have a look. You have to go geographically where the people that you want to be around are in order to meet those people. So many guys don't even get to that, right? I did a poll recently on my channel, and it was something like 70% of guys who watch my channel haven't approached in the last year. Now, what is going on? What is going on? If you are one of those guys watching now that falls into that 70% that hasn't approached in the past year, what do you need to do to get out of this rut? Because I cannot imagine that you would be watching my channel if you didn't want to get out of that 70%, if you didn't want to do it. So what is the first thing that you can do right now, right? Have you defined what you want? And if you have, what's the next step? Where are you likely to find that person? What is it going to require of you to go to the environments in which you're going to find the type of person that you've defined that you're looking for, and create an opportunity for a conversation to happen? Create the right mindset that you're going to be calm and present and open enough to say hello or to ask a question when you see that person. And once you've done that, then you can worry about the next step. How are you going to build a conversation? Or how are you going to direct approach? But we've got to take this step by step. And for anybody watching who is in that 70%, guys, it's time to start now if you haven't already. It's time to just get a pen and paper and define what it is that you want, define where those people go, define what times, time block your calendar, when am I going to go to that location? Okay, now I've gone to that location, how am I going to talk to them? What kind of questions could I ask? It's time to start mapping this out, because there's absolutely no chance of any of you hitting the goal unless you know where you're going. And I know that many of you are already hitting your goals, because I talk to you guys every day, because you're booking a call with me, and we're talking about stuff. So I know that many of you are achieving your goals, and it's genuinely amazing to see that. And I don't use that word lightly. It's pretty amazing to go from a position where you can't do anything, where you just feel impotent, and you're at home and you don't know what to do, and you don't know what direction to go in, and you're lost and you're confused, and it feels like that's just it. That's how life's going to be. And then the impetus comes. Something happens, some trigger, some epiphany happens, and it's your impetus to start moving. And you just move, and you just go. And you start meeting people, right? Guys that you're aligned with, and women that show some interest in you. And okay, this is that bit of energy that you need, that bit of motivation to keep going. And so you keep going. And, you have a good conversation. You sort of make her laugh, and you haven't done that before. And you said something you didn't even think, or it didn't even feel like you generated it. It was just spontaneous. You showed confidence. And now you start to see yourself as confident. You talk to more people and meet more guys. And now it feels like the universe is conspiring to make your life good, right? And you reach this flow, and you sort of feel like you're exploding out into the world. But that all requires that first step. And sometimes we can't take that first step. We're stuck at ground zero. We're just lost. Just don't know what to do. And that's where you need the impetus. That's where you need the impetus. And that impetus is start at the start. When you're at 0 and you're trying to get to 100, what is 0? Okay, first you've got to define what 100 is. What is the ideal future? Where am I trying to go? If I can't define that, I can't get excited about it. If I can't get excited about it, I can't develop the motivation or the willpower to do anything, right? So you start by defining it. And if you haven't done that and you're watching this, then go and define it. And if the audio is distracting, then turn the audio off because it's the most important thing you can do. So, back to the topic. And then I'll come to your question, Florent. So, the second reason why I think that the move towards order at this time in this world is important is because of focus. And essentially, it's increasingly obvious that we are facing a global crisis of attention spans, right? Our attention is constantly hijacked by social media, dating apps, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is. We've fragmented our ability to focus on one thing so much. And I know from experience, one of the most distracting things when you're a young man or even a middle-aged man is women, when you're single, right? If you're trying to do anything and you in any way doubt your ability to date the type of women you want, one of the greatest fragmentations of your attention is going to be women. That's not to say focusing on women and dating is necessarily a fragmentation of your attention, but if you're feeling any resistance to do something important, right? To do something that you genuinely feel is your responsibility as a man, right? To really get that business going that you know you can do. Any moment of weakness, any lapse in attention, where does your mind go? It's going to go to women. It's going to go to your next date, right? I think it's one of the easiest things to let ourselves get distracted by, right? And again, if you've planned it into your day and you're like, no, this is my social life, this is my dating life, I've planned it into this part of my life, it's important, I'm improving myself, I'm growing, I'm getting better with girls, I'm going on dates, I'm learning, it's all part of it, and I'm still working. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the guys, and you know who you are, where every time you try to do something really important, your mind gets fragmented and you jump on Instagram and start scrolling through images or messaging girls, or you start thinking about an ex-girlfriend and going through the text messages, or you watch some, soft porn content, some gold digger prank on YouTube and get riled up about women and men. We know how it is, right? And so I think that one of the advantages of seeking wifey, right? Seeking that stable relationship, seeking a quality woman with whom you can potentially build a family and have a unit, is that it no longer is the most shiny object to distract you from what else is important. If you have that woman, if you have that peace of mind and that stability where you're not constantly seeking new women, right? You're not constantly seeking to sleep with as many women as possible, you can focus on other stuff. You don't feel the same pressure. You don't care so much what women think about you, and that makes you more attractive, right? It's no wonder that women tend to find married men much more attractive, right? Besides the fact that it's social proof. If he's married, well, what does it say? It says that he's attractive to certain women. It also says that he is not constantly seeking more. He's not constantly seeking to fill up his empty cup. He doesn't need that. He doesn't need the validation of other people. There are a number of reasons why in today's age a married man is a much more attractive prospect than an unmarried man. If you have no other data or information, right? If all you know is that one guy is married and one guy is unmarried, if that's all we've got to go on, you'd expect that the guy who's married is going to have more to offer, right? It's a level of social proof there because he's been accepted by women. But I think a big part of it is that a married man necessarily has to be emotionally mature enough not to constantly be seeking the attention of other women, right? He's not constantly seeking validation. He's not sleeping with one woman, feeling high, then 3 days later he hasn't slept with anyone else and he starts to doubt himself again. And I know because I've been there. I've been in that trap, right? And that's when it's going relatively well. when it's not going well at all, it can be another thing altogether. I think the fight of our lives as young men with some level of opportunity, right? I'm talking to the guys of you that are developing your health, you are doing okay with your money and developing your finances, and you're also working on your social and romantic life. One of the challenges for us, and I'm talking to the guys probably in your mid to late 20s, early 20s as well, but is to disentangle the idea of adventure and casual sex. Because I bet as you're listening to this, the idea that you can go to a foreign country or even city or holiday or something like that, if you were to go there, right, and you're a single guy, and you imagine that you know ahead of time that there's no way you're going to have sex with anyone, right? Sex is off the table. There's a 0% chance, for whatever reason, that you're going to be able to have sex. Does the adventure also dissipate, right? Does the idea that that trip is actually going to be an adventure, right? That you're going to be exploring and adventuring and experiencing new things. If you feel like the fact that you're not going to have sex when you're on that holiday is also going to dissipate all of the adventure or squeeze all of the adventure out of it, that means you have tangled the idea of adventure and the idea of casual sex in your mind. And that is a very weak and limiting place to be. To think that there is no adventure without sex, without casual sex, right? How could you limit your sense of adventure as a man, your sense of conquest, your sense of exploration to something as banal as physical actions, right? And I understand sex is more than physical actions. I know, of all people I know that it's more than that. But you know what I mean, right? If those two things have equal weight, like your whole idea of adventure depends on having casual sex, then that's our problem and that's our weakness as a man. And I think for many men, the fight for this period of their life, the greatest emotional, psychological, therapeutic obstacle that they have is disentangling those two and saying, no, as a man, I'm not going to let sex control my sense of adventure or exploration. And if it is controlling it, if I am at the whims of sex to control how much I can enjoy and experience or feel adventurous, then I need to evolve. I need to conquer that. I need to disentangle it. And I would actually go so far as to say you could practice abstinence as a way of doing that, right? You could say, I'm actually intentionally not going to seek sex until I can find or understand that I'm able to experience adventure without it, right? Because it's not healthy, man. It's not healthy to be controlled by sexual impulses. And I was for many years. You know? The whole sense of gratification or sense that I'm having fun or that things are going well was down to if women wanted to have sex with me. That's fucking weak. It's weak. We know it's weak, right? And our lives are worth so much more, right? If you lost your nuts right now, car crash, whatever, you lose your balls, is your life over? Really? You're not strong enough to be able to reframe that, right? To reframe your contribution to the world, to reframe the way that you can have a positive effect on the world. That's how we want to be. We want to be able to know that whatever happens to us, we're prepared, right? And it's a Stoic idea, right? Preparing for your own death, preparing for your own mortality, spending years just preparing for the moment where you're going to die so that you can die gracefully. And I think it's something that we're missing today, right? There are many studies showing how men plan the first 40 years of their life in great detail and imagine all of these things, but after the age of 40, no one has any plans, as if it's just game over, right? But that's like half of your life. And I think a lot of the time it's because we cannot face our own mortality, right? But anyway, we can go into very esoteric ground there. I want to come to Florence's comment. How to create momentum when you haven't approached since a while. You want to take the first and simplest step that you can, Florent. So if you haven't approached in a while and you want to gain momentum, I haven't approached in 4 days now. What is it, Friday? Yeah, so since Monday. So now I'm going to go and do it this afternoon. After I leave here, I'm going to go and do it. How am I going to do it? Well, I'm going to take the easiest first step, right? It's not going to be easy. I've been doing this for over 10 years. And since I was, 18, 19, and I'm now 30. So it's still not going to be easy for me, right? I'm going to go to a mall after this. And what am I going to do? I'm going to enter, and I've just come off the camera, off the screen, and my eyes are going to be a bit lazy. One of my eyes is going to be drifting off to the side as it does. I'm going to feel a little bit introverted and weird, and kind of my face is going to be twitching. I know how it goes. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to start making eye contact with people. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to stand up straight, stretch out. I'm going to start making eye contact with people. Then what am I going to do? Well, as I'm making eye contact, I'm going to start to hold it with certain people, right? I'm going to start to look around and scope out the opportunities. There's one girl over there, and she's looking at rings in a jewelry shop. Might be a red flag. One girl over there, and she's buying a cup of tea, right? There's a girl walking with her friend and laughing over here. Okay, she looks nice. What am I going to go do? Well, I've got to do something. But I'm too nervous to talk to her, so I'm going to smile at her, right? So you just smile and say hello, say good evening. Okay, now you're a little bit more open. She smiled back and she said something back. What do you do next? Well, maybe I can go and ask someone a question. This woman's working in the shop and there's no one there. Let me ask her what time the mall closes. This isn't going to be for me. I'm going to be fine without doing these tiny steps. But if you're trying to get back into it, all of this is justifiable, right? You don't have to think, oh, what am I doing? This is lame. Why am I just asking questions? You've got to be able to support yourself. You've got to be able to accept little wins, Florent. So if you're finding it hard to get momentum and you want to get back into it, don't worry about the things you can't do right now. Don't worry about the things that you're too nervous to do. Do the things that you can do, because there is something you can do. And if that's eye contact, do that and you've won, right? After you've done that, the next step will be easier. And the next step might be smiling. And the next step might be just saying hi. And the next step might be asking for information and walking away. And the next step might be giving a compliment and then walking away. And the next step is giving a compliment, asking a question, and then going away. And the next step is giving a compliment, asking a question, and then telling her she looks beautiful and walking away. And the next step you add asking for a phone number onto it. And then you start fleshing out the conversation. And all of a sudden, you're fine. You've got momentum. You don't have to jump from step 1 to step 100. Just jump from step 1 to step 2. Sam, open up the calls on Discord for us mortal poor man. Open up the calls on Discord for us mortal poor man. What do you mean, my guy? What exactly do you mean, sir? I don't know what you're talking about. The calls on Discord. Oh, you mean for the FCS. So I have my community, the Fluid Confidence System. We have a combination of video courses. We have a large Discord community of guys all across the world getting daily support on there and getting to know each other, and in many cases going out with each other and traveling with each other. And we do weekly calls where we address their specific sticking points, their obstacles, and we give them the solutions. We use whiteboards to hash out information and get guys to meet up together, because many guys find themselves in the same city, and it's amazing. So if you guys are interested in that, then join us in there. It is $47 a month, and there is you get a free trial, I think everyone on YouTube gets a free trial, and then there's a $4.99 trial for anyone that isn't subscribing to the channel. So if you guys want to come in there, look, you don't have to be you mortal poor man. Larry Loudman, how dare you? It's not the end of the world, is it? I think you probably spend that much on OnlyFans if you can't afford $47 a month. I mean, look, we try and make it. It's basically as cheap as it's feasible to make it. I think everybody can afford that if it's enough for you, if you want it. And otherwise, I'm going to be doing these types of things, and you guys can call me for free. I have a call link in every video, and everybody gets a free call with me, so you guys can talk to me. But you can't ask for freebies on everything, my guy. How do you deal with negative responses from women? What do you mean? How do I deal with them? I know I've had enough responses of all varieties, positive, negative, everything in between, to know that the way someone responds to me has no bearing on who I am. It's actually just a logical fallacy. Think about it this way. Has anything changed about you, whether she responds well to you or whether she responds badly, right? Imagine there's a fire, suddenly appears in front of you and starts burning your laptop or burning your microphone. Whether you're angry at the fire, you love it, or whether you hate it, does it change the fact that the fire is there burning away? So her opinion about you, whether positive or negative, cannot change the way you are. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to react to it because it changes nothing. You are unchanged whether they like you or hate you. Whether you guys watch this and like it or dislike it, it doesn't change what I've said. So I have absolutely no reason to be invested in the response. It's been said. It is what it is. And so how do I deal with negative responses from women? Well, I see them either as possibly feedback, like, okay, maybe I actually, maybe there was something I did there or said there. It's no bearing on me, who I am. There's no ego there, right? It's nothing to do with who I am. People respond differently to different things. But maybe I was manifesting myself in a way that was unusual or odd or incongruent for her. So it's either feedback or it's an opportunity to show that you're not controlled by your ego. So the first thing you do is say, is there any lessons in there? Was there anything I could have done better? Was I too close? Was I looking at her weirdly? Was I staring at her boobs? What was going on? And if none of that comes up, then you just say, okay, now, was I emotionally affected by her response to me? Yes, I was. Okay, I didn't need to be. Let's smile and get over it. That's how I would deal with it. Nice, stream is up. Yes, sir. Will Zan still be making an appearance? No. So, Zan and I tried to do a stream just now. It didn't work, so we just did a call. There was like a minute-long lag, which just made any type of conversation impossible. I would just have to ask a question and then wait a minute, and then he would have to answer it and then wait a minute. It just wasn't working. So we did a conversation, which I will put up as well in the next week or so with Zan. So yeah, the live didn't work, but we had a great conversation as always, and you guys will see that. Apologies to anybody that was waiting for that stream, and I tried to delete the stream, but I was aware that Zan only had an hour and a bit with me, and so that video went up of a white screen for 10 minutes, so I apologize to anyone that watched that all the way through. But yeah, that conversation will go up, so hopefully it will make up for that. Are women becoming less feminine? It's a very broad question, but I think that life tends to balance itself out, and the poles balance each other out. When we have, wherever you see very masculine men, you see very feminine women, right? On the broadest scale. And as Zan and I were just talking about, the testosterone levels in men have been dropping at the same rate every single year. Every single year, male testosterone is dropping since the 1980s. Every single year. It's lower than it was. So are women becoming less feminine? I mean, it would follow that they are, in general. Wherever male testosterone is going down, there's probably some extent to which the masculine roles or the masculine energy that men are supposed to have, when it is decreasing, a woman's needs to adopt that, right? It's like if a man's responsibility was to go out and bring in 100 logs per day to burn and keep the family warm or the tribe warm, and he's only bringing in 50 logs because his testosterone's down and he can't carry anymore, then it's a woman will have to come in and lift the other 50, and her testosterone will grow up and her feminine energy will go down and she'll become more assertive and decisive and all of that. So I think that there's sometimes we can just look at the macro broad scale effects of the world, where if you see an increase on one side, you'll see an increase on the other side, right? We see this increase in radical ideas on one side, and we're going to see equally radical ideas on the other side, right? It's just exactly that way, and it's always that way. Whenever we see a big push towards the left, we're going to see a big push towards the right at a delayed pace. And so, yeah, if we're seeing a decrease in masculine men, we're going to see an increase in masculine women, or a decrease in feminine women, however you want to frame it. So, yeah, I do think women are becoming less traditionally feminine, and I think women in general are becoming less attractive to men than they were before. I think that in general, not just, I wouldn't say necessarily in the way they look, though I think the Instagramification of everything is deeply unattractive to me. Fake lips, fake hair, rejecting the way that you actually look, rejecting your own peace with yourself. For a woman to cover herself in makeup and throw things in her lips and boobs and copy celebrity style, I find all of that deeply unattractive. But I do think women are becoming less attractive and less feminine in their personalities much of the time, because they don't have any good role models, really. It's just like men don't. I think women are being encouraged to act like men and feel like, they should be more like men, and it doesn't make any sense, right? And we're just becoming a little more androgynous in general. Men and women are becoming more like one another, however you want to describe that amelioration of the extremes of gender. Great point on the sex part and how we're driven by it. Besides enjoying the time with the specific women, that's the big advantage of having a girlfriend, obviously. Yeah, like sex is obviously important, but allowing yourself to be driven by the desire for more is a fucking trap and a death trap, right? Like, it's so obvious if you're a guy that was really pursuing sexual variety at one point in your life, and then you had that sexual variety, right? I remember I had this one experience, and I was on an island in Bahia in the northeast of Brazil, and I remember being on this island, and I remember, I was with some friends, I was with some people you guys probably know, and we went out to a party, and I met a girl, and I came back, and we had some fun together. I was just lying in bed, deeply empty and depressed, right? And I was like, what is going on? And like 2 nights ago, I'd been with a different woman, I'd been with another woman, and it felt really good at the time, but then afterwards I felt the same feeling, right? And I remember feeling this feeling, and then going to sleep and waking up in the morning and feeling like, that was odd, why did I feel so empty? And then by the afternoon, I was seeking another one. I was feeling like, I need to meet another woman, because I'd created some reason why neither of those women were what I was looking for, right? What I needed at the time. But now here I was, one afternoon later, seeking more of the same, right? Literally forgetting, or like, not forgetting, but like distancing it from my mind. I just learned that this wasn't filling me up. This was emptying my spirit. And one afternoon later, I was wanting more of it, right? Imagining that that's going to be the answer. It's like we're chasing this like grey rainbow, where we're not even enjoying the rainbow as we're following it to the pot of gold. And it just keeps going, just like a rainbow does. If you follow it, it just keeps moving with you. Except the only difference is at least a rainbow is colourful and beautiful, and we sort of drain all of the fun out of this most of the time anyway, by making it like needy, making it about a pursuit of more, a need to have these sexual experiences. And it's just pathetic, right? And I'm not, of course, not saying any of you are pathetic. I'm saying to myself that having experienced that, and that emptiness that I feel after meaningless casual sex with women that I didn't even really care about or feel connected to, the feeling is one of patheticness, right? And I'm not saying that casual sex is pathetic. I think casual sex, as part and parcel of the process of finding meaning in life, right, of finding an amazing woman with whom you can team up with and take responsibility for a family and put more people into the world and think to the future and build and create value. And you don't have to have a family to do that, but I think for most guys, most of the time, the most actual fun you're going to have with this process is in the pursuit of one great woman, right? And I know that because that's the case for me. Whenever I haven't had that as my end goal, if I've had multiple women, I want to sleep with hundreds of women and just constantly keep doing more, I've been miserable. I've been miserable and empty. But at least when you've got wifey in the back of your mind, right, you got the idea of finding a great woman, it's kind of enjoyable, because you can enjoy the good ones, like, okay, that's not wifey, but that was fun, right? And it feels like there's something at the end of it, and something valuable and really intrinsically valuable. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. is to define what it is that you want long term, some sort of ideal, and then you can pursue that thing and you can enjoy the journey. But if that journey is leading nowhere, it's very difficult to enjoy it. Would you say that for successful men, it's the best solution, as now focus can be fully part on creating value in the world, while the intimacy part is fully taken care of? That's a good question, man. For successful men, I believe, right? And, I'm not sitting here as some sensei or some yogi. My belief is that for the vast majority of successful men, most successful men understand this anyway, that they have to sacrifice. In life, we choose our sacrifices, right? In life, we choose our regrets and we choose our sacrifices. We can't live both lives. We can't be Hugh Hefner and Jordan Peterson, right? We can't do both courses, but we know that both have their own value, and we know that both are exciting, right? To have the family and the beauty and the building, and to have the variety and the adventure and the fame and the glory. We know that both of those are exciting. We can't have both, and we have to pick one and understand that we're going to die, that we take our minds with us, right? You're not going to be happy because of the relationship or because you're single. You're going to be happy with the relationship and happy with being single if you create that in your mind first. You take your mind with you. So whether you're single or in a relationship, you're taking the same mind down either path. So it's not the thing itself that's going to make you happy, right? Or going to give you the best life. You have to create that for yourself. But in terms of the amount of chaos that most of us are psychologically experiencing and subjected to today, I certainly think that we should be more bound towards seeking order than seeking more chaos. Because chaos plus chaos squared is not the balance that we perhaps want or need. And so, I do think that for most successful men, saying, look, I'm not dependent on the validation of multiple women. I can still have casual sex, but definitely my mind should be focused on finding a really quality woman and building something of meaning, of value, and passing on that legacy to my children and teaching them in the best way possible to create a better world for tomorrow. Yeah, that's going to make you happier than just seeking endless variety. 100%, right? Whether you're religious or not, whether you're conservative or liberal, this is just obviously true to anyone who has tried to serve themselves and then tried to serve others. We know that the most intrinsic joy comes from serving others. It is actually very well documented that this is the case. And that's why I think happiness is such a lame pursuit, because seeking just happiness is like sand slipping through your hand. It's seeking something transient. But if you seek to provide value, or you seek to help others, or you seek to do a service, you actually find yourself more happy when all of your focus is off yourself and on someone else. And that's partly, presence and meditation. When you're fully listening to someone and receiving someone else, you're not there, you're not focused on yourself. And when you're focused on yourself, you're kind of anxious, and it doesn't feel meaningful in the same way. So to answer that question, I do believe that for successful men, the best solution is to focus on finding a partner with whom you don't need to seek other partners. And in the meanwhile, before you find that person, then enjoy yourself. It reminds me on Steve Jobs continuously wearing the same shirt, minimizing any additional decision making. It's somewhat of a similar concept of saving all power for the bigger purpose. 100%, man. That's very, very good analogy to what we're talking about. Men going their own way is growing. What does that mean, bro? What does that mean? What even is it? I still actually don't understand. Is men going their own way like a way of men improving themselves, focusing on gym? Can someone actually tell me in the chat? Can someone explain this to me? Because I actually don't understand what it means. Because the first thing I thought is men going their own way is men rejecting the mainstream and rejecting society to improve themselves, go to the gym, work hard, be diligent, so that they can find the best life and the best partner. But then I also see some people use it as a sort of like, women are bad, so we're going to go our own way and live a life without women. So which one is it? Is it that you're improving yourself by ignoring mainstream narratives so that you can have a good life and a family and live a good life? Or is it that you're going your own way because you actually don't believe that women are important in your life? Please someone explain, preferably Alex PT166, what the hell is the position of men who claim to be going their own way? As a man, you just need to be aware of male mother need. As a man, you just need to be aware of male mother need. I don't know what that means, bro. Most men struggle with male mother need. What does that mean? Male mother need. Agree and believe many have made that experience, but I also do believe, like with many things in life, we often have to reach abundance first and then have the realization that quality is key. Yes, sir. That is a good point. Much of the time, you can hear messages too soon, right? And this is very common with Buddhist teachings. They said actually it can be detrimental to hear a profound message before you're ready to receive it, because it means when you are ready to receive it, the power of that message has already dissipated when you were too naive or not mature enough to actually understand it. And I think you're sort of alluding to this point in a way as well, that, you know, if someone tells you before when you're still a virgin or before you've made your first approach that, you know, you should just be looking to shackle up with a woman right now and just start a family, and that's obviously dangerous advice, because if you did it right now and you found yourself in a relationship with a woman straight off the bat, you wouldn't know even how to deal with her, right? You wouldn't even know how to, you know, is she using you? Does she actually like you? Do you actually like her? You've got nothing to compare it with, so how do you know? There is definitely an extent to which you need to have experiences before you find the quality. You need to have some quantity. However, you can still focus on having that quality whilst you're having the quantity. That's what I'm trying to say, Joseph, more or less, is that I'm not saying that you should just be in a relationship right now and find a relationship right now. I'm saying you should set in your mind that your goal is to find a quality relationship with one woman. For most guys, I think that's a better idea. And you can guarantee that if you're looking for a quality woman as your goal, you can guarantee that it's going to take you a bit of quantity before you get there, right? So then you can enjoy the quantity as part of a journey and part of a process, and not as the end in itself. It's like a means to an end. But as soon as the means becomes the end, then we get very confused and we get very lost, because we've forgotten that that was the tool by which we get to a valid location, a valid end, and the tool has become the end. Just like money. It's like, why do we want money? Well, we want money to enable us to have a good life, to have influence, to have some level of control and power over ourselves, to look after our family, to bring up our children, right? Or to run our business that provides service to others. But as soon as money becomes the end in itself, then we get confused and we get lost. Money is a means by which to attain an end, which is influence, glory, quality, service, right? So I think it's important not to mistake the means for the end. Tim D. I'm about 4 months into abstaining from sex for a few reasons. I'm feeling pretty good, but have lost a lot of motivation to be social with men and women. Not sure what to do with this. Any thoughts? It depends if you're abstaining from sex or from masturbation as well. Because if you're abstaining from sex, but then you're giving yourself the old monkey spanking every night, then there's going to be trouble down the line. I think it would be much better to abstain from masturbation than sex, actually. Like, if you're not having sex, but then you're just masturbating all the time, that's just another sex addiction, right? That's going to be very difficult to level that and rationalize that in your head as something positive. For me, would be very, very difficult. But look, I'm sure you have your own reasons. You're feeling pretty good, but if you're abstaining from both sex and masturbation, then good on you. Like, that's a pretty challenging and high goal. So I'm feeling good, but have lost a lot of motivation to be social with men and women. Right? That would usually indicate to me that it means you're still masturbating, which is probably not healthy. If you're staying by yourself and abstaining from sex, and now you have no sex drive or social motivation. the first thing I would do with this is I would start acting, because you're not going to be able to think your way into being motivated to socialize with men and women. You're not going to be able to think your way into that. The action has to precede the thought. You cannot think your way into right action, but you can act your way into right thinking. The action comes first, right? So let's say I didn't feel like doing this live stream today, but I knew that if I did it, I would get into it and it would be valuable, and afterwards I would feel like it. So we can't let our actions be controlled by our thoughts. We must control our thoughts with our actions and act our way into right thinking. And I think that is probably what I would do with you, Tim. Start easy. I know what it's like to be out of the social game. Start simple. Start by walking around outside, looking at people in the eye, right? Start with just making eye contact, making that facial eye contact. And once you've done that, you can start having little conversations with the woman that works at the cafe, with the cashier. And then you can start giving little compliments out. We talked about it earlier, graded exposure, gradually increasing the level of challenge. It's what everybody's doing in the FCS community. In the community that we have on Discord and in the calls, we're going over for everyone, where are you stuck at? What's the issue? Just tell me what the problem is, and we can overcome it, because we can say, right, you can give a compliment, but you can't ask for a number. What comes in between the two, right? Sometimes things are that simple, and graded exposure is one such thing. You don't need any motivation to take the first step. You don't need any motivation at all to do the first steps. They are completely simple. And as soon as you find a step that's too high, it's too much of a reach, you just plant another one in between that you can get to. And it is a really simple way of doing it, but having someone there to map it out with certainly is helpful. So for that reason, just get on the call with me if you want. Porno is so addicting, so many young men have it, lol. PMO, post... Bruv, what's PMO? Help me out. But it's so rewarding. OnlyFans is great. I don't know I don't get it. How do you contend with social media warping the dating dynamics and standard of girls, especially the younger generation? Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem because it is actually a warping. It's not just a warping of the dating dynamics. It's a warping of female preference, right? When I was young, when I was about 15 or 16, so anyone who can do the math, that's about 15 years ago, it wasn't like this. Women didn't value looks the way they do now. Women liked, hot guys, let's say, or, good-looking guys, but it was not uncommon at all to see a guy who, wasn't that particularly good-looking doing good with girls. I remember this very, very clearly. Not only has the dating dynamics been warped, but women's preferences have been warped. Women, I would say on average, they believe that they care more about a man's looks than they actually do. And there's evidence of this because when you see on Instagram and Tinder, it is pretty much the black pill idea makes a lot of sense when we're using those modes of dating, right? On Tinder, yeah, you just do not get an ugly guy getting an attractive girl on Tinder. It doesn't happen. But in real life, if that woman was taken away from Tinder and she was put in a social circle where there was a genuinely cool, intelligent, charismatic guy who's growth-oriented and who's got his shit together, and he's the same, not a good-looking guy, but everyone can see that he's got it together, then he would have a chance with her. It's just that she never finds herself in that environment with him because she's on Tinder, right? And because Tinder is actually warping female preferences. Women didn't used to care about looks as much as they do now. And when taken away from that online realm, if she was given 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 3 days with a guy who's not good looking but is otherwise attractive, she would actually be attracted to him. It's just like this instant reprogramming that only having a visual stimulus to rely on, only having profile pictures to rely on, it immediately makes us think that that is more important than what we actually care about, what women actually care about. And we know this because it's the same with us as men, right? As men, I'm sure all of you have had experiences where you thought a girl was quite attractive, she's really cute. Then she speaks and you get to know her a bit, you're like, she's actually dropped down a lot. In your estimation of how attractive she has dropped. Her physical level, how physically attracted you are to her has dropped when you heard her speak. And in the other case, there's a woman who isn't the most beautiful girl in the world, but there's something about her, some way that she moves or laughs or smiles that's so lovely and feminine that she actually becomes more physically attractive. I'm not talking about, she's not hot, but I'm attracted to her personality. No, I'm saying that her personality makes her more beautiful physically. So, and we know that women are much more invested in personality and men in looks, right? If we're going to simplify things. So we know that that's 100% the case when it comes to women with men. When they're taken off the screens, when they're not using, the women who don't use dating apps, who don't use Instagram, who don't use TikTok, those women care less about the way a man looks and more about the substance of the man. That is just a fact, and you can observe that everywhere. So outside of the cities, you find women who are less superficial, and that's also a fact. You find men who are less superficial as well. You find better men and better women outside of the big cities, as far as I can see. That's been my experience virtually everywhere in the world. You know, I'm in Rio de Janeiro right now. It's the same here, right? If I compare the quality and the morals and the value and the genuine, like, goodness of the people in this city versus if I travel out to a place that's a bit more remote, like a more small town vibe where it's a bit more suburban, yeah, I prefer the people in the suburban place. I've just learned over time that people just have better qualities when they're not spending as much time in the matrix, for lack of a better term, when they're not constantly online, when they're not constantly watching the news, when they're not constantly looking at Instagram, when they're not constantly being sold to and becoming consumers. Like, people just get better. So, yeah, cheers for that question, Andy. Agree that for most, a girlfriend wife is the long-term goal. I'm in Georgia right now and see lots of Saudis. They get married really early and skip the whole casual part. Yeah, there's some value to that. I can see why that could be good, and I can see why that could also leave a lot to the imagination and give you a sense that your life is incomplete. It's a tough one, but ultimately it comes down to us saying either way I'd be fine, right? Again, if you lost your nuts today as a man, would you be able to get over it, or would you just kill yourself? Because if that is enough to destroy your life, then I think that's a sign that we need to strengthen up and that we're being weak. Like, I want to think that if I lost movement in my legs tomorrow, that I would be able to say as a man, I can still find beauty and value and goodness in my life without it. And I can still find a beautiful woman without my legs. So here I am in good health, right? With a great life and good health. There's absolutely nothing stopping me. I should be grateful beyond imagination for what I have right now, right? Good health, family healthy, business doing fine, wealth, health, love. It's all good. Like, what an incredible blessing, right? Because imagine how you'd feel if you did lose both of your legs, right? Tomorrow would be a really bad day, man. But you'd like to be able to think that over the course of a couple of months, you could get your shit together, start to figure it out, get a nice wheelchair, deck it out, and live a good life, right? We don't want to be dependent on these things. We don't want our happiness to be dependent on our ability to sleep with endless numbers of women. It's not strength as a man, it's weakness as a man. Masculinity is about more than mere casual sex. And if our conception is limited, if our conception of being a strong man, being a good man, being a successful man is limited to sexual abundance, then I think we have a very limited conception of masculinity, personally. We've got a load of questions. I've got to head off in about 5 minutes, guys, so I'm going to answer some final questions and then go. Agree. I'll see if I can answer them in 3 words or less. Agree that for most, a girlfriend is the long-term goal. Yeah, Saudi's getting married early. It all depends on life, vision, and options on how much we men want to experience variety. Both can work, but in the long run, most of us are in it for the sweethearted, quality girlfriend. I agree, man. I really do agree, and I think a lot of guys that would say that they're not looking for that, it's just a quality of time. I learned about myself that the thing I ran away from most when I was young is the thing I end up looking at when I'm older. I remember hating the idea of, there were certain buzzwords that would make me angry. It was like deposit, insurance, investment, like any word that related to kind of life structure and balance and marriage and all of these things of security, they used to make my stomach turn. And now I find they're all the things that I'm actually interested in. I'm interested in exploring insurance and investment and understanding how to construct systems around life. So it's very, very interesting. I think almost you can, if you're a young guy now, like 20, 21, a lot of the things that make your stomach turn that you want to avoid, they might be the things that in 10 years' time are actually genuinely interesting to you. And the things that are interesting to you now might seem kind of banal and meaningless. So there is this sense to which we move through life, and there's a poeticism to the things that we distance ourselves from often become the things that we end up searching for. Anyway, that's an observation I've seen in my own life. High-speed internet and technology is definitely causing the changes in socialization and everything. Yeah, for sure, man, it is. But we still have opportunities to retreat from it all and to step back from it all. So much easier for people to chat on these chat boxes than face-to-face. So different. Yeah, but it just starts by talking to people face-to-face. And then you start to see the value in that and the joy in that. And then you start to leave the phone alone because you realize that it's better and there was a part of your life or world that was there but you couldn't see it, right? It's kind of like when people are depressed. I remember having experienced like periods of depression in my life. I remember people saying like, if you're feeling depressed, just do this. And I was like, yeah, but I don't even really want to not feel depressed, because when I was depressed, it was like an understanding that everything is meaningless. Right? It was like this sense that everything's meaningless. And that's the most clarity. It feels like you're completely clear about that. So the idea of being happy is just meaningless happiness. I didn't even want to be for the moments where I'd experienced depression. I wasn't even looking to be happy, because what's the point in meaningless happiness, right? So I think to some extent, when you're in that state of social media, and we can parallel it with depression, you don't even see the point. You don't see what's available on the other side, is what I'm trying to say. And you almost need to like force yourself onto the other side before you see the value there to realize the value. So if you're someone's like, oh, I've got friends, we talk on WhatsApp the whole time. Well, you've forgotten what it's like to actually have friends, right? And if you're someone that's doing online dating, you've forgotten what it's like to actually date, right? To actually be there in the flesh and have walked up to that woman and experienced it. Because when you do it, you'll see that there was a there, that there was another side, right? There was something that you couldn't see on the other side. And we forget about it when we don't go there. So you got to go there. Big point on the profile pictures. Women mostly get attracted by our behavior, our leadership, our guidance, us dominating them in a playful or further down the line a sexual way. 100%, man. Yeah. But the women forget what they are actually attracted to. When they're limited to the visual, all they can be attracted to is the visual. If they're limited to a profile picture, then they don't have anything else to go on. So they start to change what they are attracted to for the time that they're there. But if you pull them into a tribal setting again, it's not going to be the best looking guy with the most beautiful girl. Trust me. If you put 30 guys and 30 women, random guys and random women on an island together, you think after a year it's going to be the best looking woman with the best looking guy? I 100% guarantee you it's not going to be that. It's going to be the guy who has the most value, right? That's with the best looking woman. And it's going to be, that's just how it's going to be. But when we're not in that setting, when all we have is online, then all women have to judge a man on is his looks, which is a pointless criteria for them. It's not actually the most productive criteria by which to judge a man as a long-term or even a casual partner. So, yeah, that's how it is. Thanks for answering questions. You're welcome, bro. Appreciate it. Laughing at the deposit part. Great call, by the way, mate. I'll be joining the Discord group. Looking forward to chat further there with you guys. Yeah, get inside, man. Looking forward to having you. What are examples of things men can do to appear more masculine in day-to-day life? The question should be, what can we do to better show our masculinity that we already have, right? We don't want to appear masculine if we're not masculine. We want to be able to express the masculinity that we do have. And the simplest thing is just stand up straighter, right? For me, that's always the first step. Slow down, stand up straight, look at the faces of the people around you. And with that, guys, I gotta go. I'll see you guys very, very shortly. I appreciate you coming in. find the FCS, find the link in the description if you want to book a call with me. Do so. And yeah, thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate you all. Let's keep going. What's the next step for you? Think about in your life, that's the homework. Think about what there is in your life that is the next step. What did you do this week that you could do better on next week? Did you do one approach? Can you do two? Did you do just a direct approach and walk away? Then can you form a conversation? One step forward. Let's go. Peace out.